Hi, it's Kylie Koo, and this is day 23 of the ATC challenge. And I'm very pleased today to be doing something a little bit different, and I am including in my ATC some artwork by Artfully Yours with Diana. So thank you, Diana. I hope you like how this turns out. So this is the image of Diana's that I'm using. I think it's called Woman with Red Thread, and I will leave a link below to the video that contains a lot of Diana's recent work, including this. So I've cut round the kind of main figure in the image, and what I want to do is to stick this down onto a piece of cardboard because I want it to kind of stand up a bit from the card. So we're just going to glue that down with some Mod Podge. So Diana and I have done various collaborations in the past, and we are hoping to do some more fairly soon. So, I'll leave some links either above or below to some of those videos as well. So just being quite careful with that because I'd only printed it on normal kind of printer paper, and it's an inkjet, so I was trying to be careful not to kind of smudge the actual ink on it, and I seem to have got away with it. So now looking to put some kind of textured background onto the actual ATC, and just tearing up some paper that I had around and some pieces of corrugated card. And I noticed that I also had left over from one of the other ATCs that I did some of this plastic that came from a bag that contained onions. And I thought I might put that onto the background, and then I kind of looked at the figure and thought I might put it round the figure. But at this stage hadn't made up my mind exactly what I was going to do. So just gluing these pieces into place. I do really enjoy working with the corrugated cardboard. It gives such a nice background texture. And just grabbing another little piece and sticking it on. Lifting at that stage from the deli paper to make sure that it didn't actually stick fully in place. So I gave it a dry, and now just cutting off the overhang. So now looking at where I might place the figure and trying to decide whether I should leave it on a full piece of card like that or cut round it, but I go back to what I had planned originally, which was to cut round it. And again, playing about with that piece of kind of stretchy plastic, just trying to decide what I might do. So I now want to paint the background of the ATC, so I took some raw umber, some Payne's grey and some black. And I'm just going to brush these on. I didn't want one solid colour on the background, though they do start to blend into each other as I work away at them. So my intention today was to try and create a kind of industrial feel. I started off with something not specific in mind, but I did have a kind of notion of where I wanted to take it, but it did change partway through, as things often do with me. I just get ideas as I go along. So now all I'm doing is taking the black paint and just going round the edge to get the edges of the cardboard. I'm trying to be very careful not to put any paint onto the main image itself. So once that's dried, I then take the DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics, and I'm using all the colours that I have. So that's the gold, the violet, the purple, and the green. Now this green bottle is a pain at times because it never just comes out in a little drop, always far too much comes out, but I did manage to get some of it back into the tube later on. And the rest I just used in my eco journal. I just started to put it on some of the pages there. So there I am with a wet brush, just starting to dab the colours on. Just spreading them about randomly. And I now take my spray bottle, give it a good soaking, and then I take my brush just to break up the kind of blobs of colour. I want them to blend a little bit, not entirely, but certainly to blend a little bit. So I then start to dry, and this takes a good few minutes to dry. I should say that the card in total took me around 50 minutes. That excluded the time that I took to look out some materials at the very start. So what I was trying to create here was a dark background that just had hints of colours in it, because you know the figure that I'm using from Diana's art is very colourful. So I wanted something that just kind of picked up not exactly the same colours, but kind of did have a representation of those colours in the background. So I noticed that the figure actually had this kind of, I don't know, it's almost a kind of bodice type top on it, and suddenly I thought, maybe I could string this across the middle of the figure rather than putting it entirely across. So I'm now going to glue the figure in place, just using some heavy gel matte medium for this, putting it on both the card and on the figure, and putting that in place. I'm trying not to press down too hard because I don't want to flatten the cardboard, and I'm just going to fix that little corner there that lifted. I think it was just where the cardboard started to split. So I've got that mainly dry. There's still a bit of glue around the figure, but what I'm doing now is to take my embossing ink pad. Now there was some gold embossing powder on it from the last time that I used it, but that was fine. The colour that I'm going to use is this copper, but I didn't mind elements of gold being mixed in. So I knew that the likelihood was that it wouldn't only grab where I'd put the embossing pad, but would also grab any elements of glue around the figure, which I was quite happy with. So just taking a brush to knock off the excess. Take a little too much off there, so just dab it back in, and just softening that line up in that corner. So I put that away, although it's always impossible to get it all away. And now what I do is to take my heat gun to start to activate that. And I do really like the effect that this has created. So I left that to cool for a moment or two because it does get very hot. And I look again at putting that on. So I decided I didn't want to glue it in place because it would be very difficult to get that kind of stretched effect without it taking a while, so I'm just going to staple it in place. And just cutting the excess from the back. So taking some of this copper wire, I had intended to use this to begin with because I thought that would kind of represent the red thread that Diana had around her image, but which I've obviously cut out. So I didn't want to do it exactly, it was just kind of doing something that almost paid homage to her original piece of artwork. So I'm using my crocodile to put in some of these things, which I've forgotten the name of yet again, eyelets. So punching in 2 of those. I'm just marking the back of that one with the pen because I need to punch it from the back through. Managed to knock the eyelet out, so I had to hunt for that for a minute. And then success, I've got it in. So just checking the length of wire before I cut it. And I'm just going to put some loops in this. Do some one way and then I do some going in reverse. And I loop it through. So as I say, I wanted to create a kind of industrial type feel with this. And at this point I'm starting to think, you know, what sort of sentiment do I put on it? When I kind of started, I had one thought, then I looked at my chit chat stickers and I thought something else, and then in the end I went with something different still. So I'm trying to stretch that out a bit further there, and I just put in another staple just to hold it in place. And what I came up with was secrets. So I just used some glossy accents to glue that in place. And I also just attempt to stick down a bit of the plastic with the glossy accents. And then I take my Stays On ink pad and give it a good rub round the edges. So the glossy accents didn't hold it as I hoped it would, so I'm now just using some of the heavy gel matte medium. I then put some of that on the back as well. I stretch it and try put it on the back, and you know, I knew it would probably take a few minutes to dry, so it had a bit of a mind of its own. But there we go, that's the finished piece. So once more, very grateful to Diana. Please do check her out. I hope to do another piece using some of her art as well. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks very much for watching. Please do join me again. Meantime, bye for now.